Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast, presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. Mac, just realized episode 457, so we're rolling. I guess we're not tired of each other yet.
I was going to ask, is that like your favorite number or something, or just cause like it's just a
No,
lot? It's a lot
I feel like it just hit me, and it's a big number. We got to start planning for 500, I guess. We got to start thinking about what we're going to do for 500. But we have a special guest here. Intern Nick is joining us because we need to break down the potential tiebreaker scenarios heading into this weekend. SMU and Miami very much in the driver's seat, Nick. But you're saying there's a chance. I mean, there's a chance for Louisville and Pitt. It's kind of like a really outside chance. But there's a decent enough chance for Clemson. Tell us what your research has uncovered, intern Nick.
Right. So the easiest path for Clemson to make it to the ACC championship would be for Miami to lose to Syracuse in the final week of the season, because their path for SMU to lose 2 games or lose the remaining games would be much more difficult than Miami just losing that 1 game.
Yeah. It is fascinating, man. Like when you look at it, do you remember, did you find any like percentages? Do you have the stuff on what it looks like for Miami? Like what are their odds, I guess, against Syracuse? Because that's probably the best bet. When you look at it,
what about weight,
you see
guys?
who they face. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's the best bet. It's the best bet.
All right. So I don't think the lines have come out for that game quite yet. But if you do think Miami is going to beat Syracuse in that game, then I would go ahead and bet them to win the ACC championship now, because you're going to get better odds now at plus 172 or whatever it is on your book than betting whoever the odds are going to be better now than they would be in the ACC championship game, no matter who they're playing.
How about this? Okay, that's fascinating. I think the way this keeps going, I think that game starts getting more and more even. Talking about SMU, if that's the team. I think people are really liking SMU right now. So that's going to be fascinating to see.
It is, but also it feels like SMU's not getting the national respect that maybe Miami is. So we'll see what if that ends up being the championship game, what the number is there. Love what Rhett Lashley did and basically went on a rant and just hit him with a bunch of facts. So love that.
Right.
But Nick, from it, we're talking about Clemson here just because they have kind of the weirder path. SMU went out, Miami went out, you're fine. But for Clemson, basically you're becoming a Virginia fan, right? Like you need Virginia to win out and you need Louisville to lose out because then Virginia hops in the standings. Do we think this is even possible, intern Nick?
It's very unlikely, but it's college football. Like we never know what's going to happen. And I'm joining the Wahoo Wah bandwagon with you, Kelly. I'll be cheering them on. Touchdown Jesus will be in spirit this week.
That is amazing.
Go Hoos.
Go Hoos, baby.
All the way in there. All the way in there. How about we posted this on social media earlier in the week. What about Pittsburgh, Nick? Did you look into Pittsburgh at all? I know it's a super crazy chance, and if they win out, what do they kind of need? Did you look at that at all, Pittsburgh?
So I did. I saw some of the comments on social media about how Pittsburgh wasn't getting some love, and I went through the numbers. So all that needs to happen for them, if you equate it all together, it's a less than 1% chance of it happening.
Yikes.
Based on current odds. So it just didn't really make sense to go dive deep into it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think
should have taken care of business. You would have been there.
Pitt's losses have hurt him. Louisville has the better chance because Louisville has the tiebreaker over Clemson, but Louisville also lost to Miami and SMU. So they need SMU to lose. They need Miami they need all these different things. And Louisville, one thing to look at with Louisville, and Nick, I'm sure you spotted this, when it comes down to, if it ever came down to the combined ACC winning percentage, Louisville's played by far the most difficult schedule. So that would really help them if we even got to that point. But if you had to guess right now, intern Nick, and of course because of the probabilities, it's going to be SMU Miami, most likely.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, my senior season or senior year, I was hoping Clemson would get in. Just wasn't made to be. But can't say that yet. We don't know what's going to happen. But odds
Gosh,
are in my
KG, you
favor.
just made him so sad. I'm now
Internet goes to
depressed.
Clemson for reference.
For fun. All right, let's get to some underdog, Nick, because you have been making some money on this. We need your input. We need your help. It is Thursday. Some of these stuff still might change and come out differently if you decide to wait. Maybe you're listening to us and you want to wait. But give me some underdog stuff. What are you eyeballing this week, and how many kickers are in
Oh,
your pick'em here?
I do love my kickers. I was a specialist in high school, so I've always appreciated their craft.
It's a good way to
And
put
so
it.
I was looking at Colin Rogers this week for SMU. I expect them to put up a lot of points against Boston College. His 1.5 field goals was plus money, plus odds. His total points was listed at 7.5. I like that as well. And then I also like Brashard Smith. His rushing yards prop hasn't come up yet, but I mean we saw what BC's defense does is not so great against the run. And then on the opposite side, I'm looking at Kai Robichaux, his under yards. SMU is the number one rush defense in the ACC.
Great point.
I think they limit them on the run game, especially with Castellanos not playing, or not on the team anymore, I should say.
Right. Right. What do you, that's a good point though, but you don't think they'll just force feed Robichaux? You think the defense is just that good?
I do. And if they do force feed them, I'm looking at the game script. They're nearly 20-point underdogs.
Right.
I'm thinking they're going to have to pass the ball a lot. It wouldn't make sense to, force feed them 20, 25
For
touches.
sure.
Wouldn't make sense to.
Yeah.
I agree with that one, Mac.
I get it, man. It's going to be fascinating.
SMU's going to know. They're going to know what's coming. Syracuse, I guess, somewhat new, but Syracuse defense is nowhere near SMU's defense. So, yeah. All right. Well, intern Nick, great stuff. Keep up your research, as you always do. And we're going to get to a quick message here, Mac, from our friends over at Ingles. I know intern Nick hits up Ingles all the time because he's in Clemson, and there's like a bunch of Ingles all around Clemson. And then we'll get to these games.
Did you know Ingles only sells USDA choice and prime cuts of meat? Maybe it's time to reward yourself. Our butchers cut all our meat fresh in the store every day. Grass-fed, organic, you name it. Not only that, we'll even cut it to order just the way you like it. And we grind meat fresh in the store multiple times a day. It's all in the bag. That's the best meat in town for the best folks in town. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
All right, Mac, let's get into these games. Week 12? Is that right? Oh my gosh. It is just absolutely
very sad. Very depressing. Yeah. But here we are.
I guess we have like a bajillion weeks now in college football, so it doesn't really feel like week 12 because of all the bye weeks. But let's get into these games, Mac. Let's start with our big three breakdown, and we're going to start with this Clemson Pitt game. Real bummer that Pitt is on a little bit of a skid. Lost last week to fall out of the polls because I thought this would be a ranked versus ranked matchup. But number 23, Clemson, travels to Pittsburgh. Clemson is a 10-point favorite, noon on ESPN. I looked up the weather, Mac. Sunny, high of 55, low of 42. A little chilly, but no
football
crazy weather.
Football weather.
Yeah, that's exactly football weather. And when I saw this game and I think about this game, the first thing I think about is the last time these two teams played. And ironically, there was a number 23 ranked team, but it was Pittsburgh. Clemson was unranked. Number 23 Pitt beat Clemson 27-17. I was in attendance at that game. And that was the infamous DJ shovel pass pick six game. And I do recall this, Mac. There are a lot of wonderful Pitt fans that we interact with on this podcast. I had never been cussed at like I was up at Pittsburgh. And I wasn't doing anything. I was just walking around.
That's it's just a different cultural thing. Up north, they were just kind of saying, "How you doing? Thanks for coming. Hey, y'all." But it's just a little more explicitive.
Exactly. So anyway, I'm sure there are a lot of wonderful Pitt fans, but it was just, it was an experience. So Clemson fans, if you're going up there for the game, just be a little prepared for that. Mac, Pitt just seems they're struggling, right? 2 straight losses, 2 straight tough losses. Eli Holstein kind of think he's going to be out for this game. They're going to probably go with Nate Yarnell because it seems to be some sort of concussion issue. Desmond Reed is still there. This Pitt defense they did give up a lot of points to SMU. They weren't necessarily the issue against Virginia, but Clemson kind of coming off the Louisville loss, but feeling better after Virginia Tech. Pitt definitely on a
For sure.
downward skid.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And it is unfortunate, when you look at the schedule and how things are shaping out, and you're like, oh, man, look at this. This has a really big shot to be super impactful, super important. Not that it's not super impactful, because I think that the winner of this game is feeling in a pretty good spot. Maybe obviously more so the ranked team and the Clemson Tigers. But, when you just see it and think early thoughts, okay, what is Pitt going to be offensively? Because you mentioned their Holstein being out. We don't know the depth of the injury. Again, being at the game, I saw him being taken off the field. He didn't have his helmet, things of that nature, which makes me just think maybe it's a head or neck injury, but don't know. And maybe he'll be available. I think earlier on Thursday, we heard from, Narduzzi saying he's not yet cleared and he's game time decision. We'll see. So I just have to think he's probably not going to play. That obviously does not favor very well, to a Pittsburgh team that has really relied on him and his abilities to get the ball out and, to find different guys and do, really well in this offense. So you have to think Reed's going to get the touches a bunch and creative ways. You have to get that guy involved. He's too good, not to. I mean, I'd love to see him get 20 plus targets, touches, whatever that looks like. Maybe even snap it to him and get an extra hat out there and let him do his thing. On the other side, how much is the Clemson defense going to continue to grow and rally? I think they're coming off their best game, and continue to build as you're making a postseason push. And of course, who you have less remaining on your schedule there, you want that defense to be in the best situation that they can be. So excited to see that, the continued growth, and development from this Clemson offense. It was great having Cade on earlier. If you missed that, go check it out. And just seeing him and his relationship with Garrett Riley and, the growth naturally there that you and I have spoken about a ton, that's going to need to be on display. This Pittsburgh defense is good. They present really tough things for you. And, what are you going to do? What answers are you going to have when they send pressure, things of that nature? So the pocket presence that he was discussing, KG, going to be at an all-time high.
For sure. Mac, forget 20 touches for Desmond Reed. Give me 30. Give this man the ball. Put him in the Wildcat. This is what you have to do if Eli Holstein is out. Even if he is in there, you got to get Desmond Reed the ball because that guy's electric. Yeah. And he is the player to watch for Pittsburgh. If he can get going, if he can do some special things, I think he can give them some confidence. The Pitt defense is known for picking people off. Obviously, the Syracuse game comes to mind. Pitt and Clemson are both top 6 in the country in forcing interceptions. Pitt's number 5, Clemson's number 6. So I think this Clemson defense, especially if you see Nate Yarnell, who had a couple picks against Virginia, if you see your second straight backup or injured quarterback, right, because Kyron Jones did play for Virginia Tech, this Clemson defense has to be licking its chops. And I think they've got to go assert themselves. Dabo also sounded pretty hopeful about Peter Woods, so that's interesting. If he plays, that would be a
captain. So that would be kind of weird for him to not be playing and be a captain of the game.
Showing your hand a bit there. So I expect this defense, it feels like, even though, again, I don't know how much to make of it because Virginia Tech was so beat up, but it feels like maybe they turned a corner. And then the offense, Mac, I think the biggest thing for me is the young offensive line. Do we see more of Elijah Thurman, right? Because Pitt is 7th in the nation in sacks. They can get after the quarterback. Pocket presence, like you mentioned, for Cade. And then the drops. There were some bad drops against Virginia Tech.
Drops, yeah.
You can't have that, especially early. Maybe it's a turnover. You just can't have that at Pittsburgh in a noon game type situation. So this offense has to look better. And it's just tough, Mac. It feels like the Louisville game. I didn't really buy it when people said, because we have a 12-team playoff, every week is going to feel like a playoff game. But I'm kind of seeing it now because, look, and I was thinking about this earlier. If we still had a 14 playoff, you could argue no ACC team would really be in the mix. I mean, maybe Miami, but they lost. If they go in the ACC, we'll see. Now you've got a lot more teams in the mix. And Clemson has a outside shot, but they've still got a little bit of a shot. Frankly, Mac, they have to go blow out Pitt. They have to go win this game by 30, I think, to really put themselves truly back in the conversation.
Yeah. Foul points matter. It's going to be important. And it's going to be important how you do it and what you do and where and how. But I'm with you. Having that 12-team playoff, it has more intrigue, right? Because seasons aren't just over. When you
Yeah.
lose, I mean, we've got people talking on different shows and networks about 3-loss teams that don't count them out. Don't come out. I don't know about that. We'll see.
Only from a certain
I guess if
league.
you wish it enough, right? If you wish it enough, I guess maybe it'll happen. You talk about it enough, start getting into people's brains. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. A great opportunity for Clemson, as you mentioned, to go up there and get a big signature win and keep building, keep running towards the end of the season.
Like Max said, if you missed our Kate Klubnik episode, go check it out. I want to give you these numbers real quick, Mac, from intern Nick, on the spread here, because the spread in this game is Clemson -10. Two things to know. Clemson is 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games in November. Of course, they didn't cover against Louisville, and they did cover against Virginia Tech. Pittsburgh is 6-3 against the spread in their last 9 home games. They are also 6-3 against the spread this season. But the last 2 games have been rough for Pittsburgh in that regard, and it feels like Holstein has not been healthy in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
This is tough, Mac, because Clemson's actually been really good on the road this year. Like the neutral site.
Let me see if this helps you. Let me see if this helps you. It's actually up to 11.5. It's 11.5.
Oh my God. Just seems like a big number. I'm just not sure how much I trust Clemson. I mean, they absolutely laid an egg against Louisville, and they didn't look good in the first half against Virginia Tech. I'll take Pitt plus 11.5. I think that's too big of a number, especially on the road.
Nate Yarnell? Really?
Yeah, with Nate Yarnell. That's who Narduzzi basically told us would be the starter before the season started. So they have some faith in Nate Yarnell.
And what'd you find out? He's a liar. He's a liar.
Well, we don't mean that, Pat. We don't mean that, Narduzzi. I just don't really trust Clemson yet. I haven't trusted him all season. I think Clemson wins.
Yeah.
But I'm taking Pitt plus 11.5.
Shocker. Give me the Tigers. Let's roll. They're going to roll. They're going to roll.
All right.
I think you see the offense continue to do its thing. I think the defense maybe figured something out last week. And at the end of the day, hand the ball to Maffa 26 times and you'll be in a good spot. Like, just give him the rock, let him do his thing. But I think Clemson understands it, and it stinks that teams put themselves in these, like Miami. Miami's in this situation now where you put yourself somewhere because you lost or because you didn't do something that you were supposed to. And now it's like, sound the alarms, like, mess up again and it's over. It's all over. So I think there's going to be some sense of urgency. I think we see that play out. And I think the Tigers cover by a couple of touchdowns.
All right. We'll see, Eric McLean. I mean, it would mean Clemson has figured out what went wrong against Louisville, but we'll see. Boston College at number 14, SMU. SMU is a 19.5-point favorite unless that's changed. Mac, 3:30 p.m. on ESPN. These two played last year, funny enough, in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, a game that Boston College won 23-14. It was Tommy Castellanos, who is no longer there. Mac, can we just start here? Tommy is a guy that we've had on the show. He was great to talk to. We really appreciated his time. Can we stop just quitting football teams? This is so annoying. Like, I don't think that, and I sound like such an old lady, but our generation, 15 years ago, which is how old we are, 12 years ago, you get benched. You don't just quit. Like, and especially the season's almost over. You're not getting this year back of eligibility. I hate this, Mac. I just hate it.
Yeah. I do think it must mean that it was really bad, right? I've got to think that. I've got to think that something, don't know what, had to happen where he felt the best situation was to walk away. And I don't know that. Nothing's come out yet. We haven't heard from anybody on the situation.
Stick with your team.
I agree.
These are your guys. You're supposed to be the quarterback and the leader.
I don't like it.
I don't see any nuance
situation.
No, I don't see any nuance here. Yeah. You're on this team. You made a commitment to this team. You made a commitment to these guys. What if Grayson James gets hurt in this game? Then, who do they go to? Like, I absolutely hate it. Yeah. But we don't have to stay here long.
I wish we just, again, stuck things out like you said, and just because what's the benefit? I mean, I don't know what the benefit. Again, that's why I have to think it was that bad of a situation where you think like it physically is, mentally is affecting you. Where you got to take care of yourself. And again, it's a new world. I don't get it. I don't know. It's bizarre for sure.
No, I think that he got benched and didn't want to stay on the team. All that being said, SMU's coming off a bye. SMU looks great. I think SMU is super hungry and motivated, Mac, because they are not getting the respect they deserve in the college football playoff poll. I think SMU comes out here and sends a message. Grayson James only passed the ball 6 times against Syracuse. Boston College ran all over Syracuse, but as intern Nick told us earlier in the show, SMU has the number 1 rushing defense in the ACC. Like, they're not just going to be able to run all over them. And I doubted
Correct.
SMU against Pitt. I'm done doing that. I think SMU covers. I think BC is a bit of a mess right now. I think SMU forces some turnovers like they always do. Give me the Mustangs.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Full speed ahead. I think it's one of those things where, especially after hearing Coach Lashley, kind of talk about it and address it, it just makes me think like you kind of throw sportsmanship out a little bit, because at this point
You have
to
to.
blow people out. You have to like send messages, and you want to do it with the health of your team. I mean, you're not going to want to put anybody in jeopardy if you're up by 30 points or something like that. But you're going to keep the hammer down, and you're going to keep trying to score. I mean, that's going to be really important for the rest of the way here. And when you see just kind of what they're doing the rest of the season, who they're playing, you go to Virginia and then have Cal come into town. I mean, win by 30 plus each game is kind of what you're aiming for to get the respect that you earn. And you can sit here and say, well, no, just got to take. That's not the case. People will leave you out of this thing if given the opportunity. You have to make it so difficult and make, if a loss happens, make it look fluky. Like, that's not us. That's not who we are. Just bad day, bad game. Everybody has them. So it is going to be interesting. I want to see Kevin Jennings go crazy. I think he is such a dynamic player, and going to be really fun for us to watch. And I can't wait for the excitement and the anticipation next year. Smith has been crazy good running the football. I expect a heavy dose of him, as well. And then, as you mentioned, that continued defense, for SMU, taking the ball away, scoring, continuing to cause chaos in the backfield. That's just what they do. I think the Ponies roll here and win by 3+ touchdowns.
And I know you saw Rhett Lashley's comments. I loved what he said. I think it's obvious that he's getting his locker room fired up. They understand how much every game matters. They understand how they look matters. And frankly, Mac, you just look at SMU's resume. You look at their one loss being to BYU, who is very highly ranked, who's probably going to win the Big 12. It just doesn't make sense where they are ranked. And so I guess you have to go out there and play every game like you have everything in the world to prove. And like you said, I mean, if you can win by 30, you need to win by 30. That's just where we are right now if you're SMU.
Yeah. It matters.
They can do it.
And that eye test and the way you win, people are paying attention. They're paying attention.
I am intrigued to see what BC does, because I mean, Bill O'Brien's a smart guy. I feel like he understands you can't just go down there and run it 60 times. And like, I assume they incorporate Grayson James a bit more into this game plan. I would guess, Mac. What do you think?
You probably have to, because you're going to have to throw the ball. Kind of, again, as Nick brought up earlier, they're I assume going to be behind and not going to be able to control the clock, not going to be able to just do whatever you want. So you're going to have to sling it, I think. Okay,
Mac, let's get to our next game here in the Big Three breakdown. Number 19, Louisville is going to Stanford, 3:30 p.m. on ACC Network. Louisville, a 20.5-point favorite. First matchup between these two ever. This is a game where Louisville still has a very, very small outside chance. They need to keep winning. They need to win convincingly. So this is huge for them. It also has implications for everyone else in the league. So I know everyone will be watching. Stanford has really struggled. The main factor here, Mac, I would think, is Louisville's travel out there. But Louisville's feeling good. They beat Clemson. They're coming off a bye. Like, I don't really see any positives. This sounds so bad. I don't really see any positives for Stanford in this game.
No, you don't. It is all about the cards and about the bird, not the tree. When you see that, fun little dad joke there for you. But, Tyler Shuck has been really impressive this year. I mean, he's been a guy that can push it downfield, use his legs when he needs to, great command of the offense, doesn't, throw the ball in really bad, jeopardizing spots. So I've loved that. I've loved the growth from the position there for Louisville. And then when you see what Isaac Brown has been able to do, my gosh, he has been special, really talented guy. You saw why Louisville was so excited about him early in camp and the things that he's been able to provide. He is really separated as the bell cow having that massive game against Clemson, but really just every game he's played in. I mean, you see the spurts, you see the speed, the power, the vision. Very impressive for such a young guy. He's going to have a great career, for the Cards. So, can the Louisville defense continue to play at the level that we saw, against the Tigers? I thought that was by far their most impressive game. Outside of the fourth quarter, they were bullying Clemson, and really did whatever they wanted on the defensive side of the ball. Got a lot of hands-on footballs, able to make things happen. So you would think it would be business as usual for this team specifically on the defensive side. But the last time we saw Stanford play, they gave up 59 points to NC State. I mean, this is a much better offense, much more put together, and certainly better guys at key positions. So we'll see. Louisville should sprint away with this game, though.
They should. They absolutely should. Max Stanford has lost 10 straight home games in November. They failed to cover in each of those. However, Louisville is 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 road games. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
The main intrigue for me in this game is the spread. 20.5 just seems like a lot of points. But like you said, Stanford just gave up a ton. Stanford is coming off a bye as well. They're at home. I think Louisville rolls here. I'm leaning Louisville to cover. And as we said earlier, for people who are watching with intern Nick's predictions, Clemson needs Stanford to win. So I don't see that happening. I don't think we see that kind of chaos. I think Louisville handles it here and they cover.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just what they do. I think they make it happen. And, it's a team that has some good wins. It's a team that's been in some close games. And can they finish off this season strong? As we all know, we are staring dead center down the last game on their schedule. Can you beat Kentucky? Can you make that happen and do what you need to do there?
And Louisville has played a much more difficult ACC schedule than most. However, not more difficult than Virginia. Virginia has played the hardest schedule in the ACC, 8th hardest amongst FBS schools based on winning percentage. And they travel to Notre Dame in this one. Number 8, Notre Dame, 3:30 p.m. on NBC. Notre Dame's a 23-point favorite. Mac, we're in the speed round, by the way. I'm very much leaning Virginia covering here. Don't laugh at me. I don't think Virginia wins. Virginia has covered the spread in 4 of its last 5 games as an underdog. They are 7-0-1 in their last 8 on the road. They're coming off a big win against Pittsburgh. I just feel like Notre Dame at some point has to have a little bit of a slop performance, even though they are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games. So I'm not ignoring that. UVA has Notre Dame, then they play SMU, then they play Virginia Tech. So heck of a finish for Virginia. I'm taking the Hoos to cover. Laugh at me all you want, Eric.
Let me tell you. A lot of teams haven't listened to this, and it hasn't fared well for them. Riley Leonard's going to run the freaking football.
Yeah.
What's your plan? What are you going to do? Take Jonas Sanker and play one-on-one, you versus Riley. Just make it happen. I mean, it's something where he's the great equalizer. He's the piece. He's the guy, that's going to be doing everything. And again, challenge him to push the ball downfield and be confident in what you do, be confident in who your guys are, and try to eliminate that. Because the closer you get to the goal line, the more he's going to be inclined to be a piece of this offense. So we'll see. I might not think it's as crazy as it is, but I might go with the Who's with you. I just don't know about the offense. I don't know if they're going to be able to score enough. I don't know if they're going to be able to score enough. I think that there's a lot of inconsistencies there. I don't know if you can bully Notre Dame, running the football maybe like you did Pitt. I want it to happen. I will not be shocked. I'm going to go with the Fighting Riley Leonards. I'm going to go with them. I think they make it happen.
Wow.
Sorry.
That was a roller coaster there. That was a roller coaster, Mac. Well, let's use this game to talk Underdog here for a second. Use our code GMPOD for up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The easiest place to play fantasy sports. Mac, I already tell you, I like a couple from this UVA and Notre Dame game. Riley Leonard, if you want one that's just going to hit, I know that it's not a great multiplier, but if you want one just on your list that's going to hit, that's higher than 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns for Riley Leonard. That will hit. Just put that one. It's like a Restrepo, but Restrepo's on a bye. So you need a new Restrepo. The other one I like too, Mac, is Calandria his number is only 0.5 for passing touchdowns. I like that. I think he gets a passing touchdown in this game. He just needs one passing touchdown. I would take that one. You could also do higher than 0.5 interceptions because Galandria does like to throw that ball around. So those are two that I'm interested in for Underdog.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to give you some more. I'm going to give you a whole list here because, I like to fill it up. I mean, do as many as you can and make it happen. That's me. That's what I do. I'll start with that game. Riley Leonard, rush touchdown. Boom. Give it to me. He's going to be higher than that. Going back to the Cade Klubnik game, going back to the Pittsburgh game, 1.5 touchdowns. He's been lighting it up throwing the football. I think that happens. I think they continue to take advantage of that. Maybe it's, again, not even in the red zone. He's taking the deep shots, getting those guys involved. So I think he goes higher than 1.5. Kevin Jennings against Boston College, higher than 227 yards. I just saw Kyle McCord go for like 4 billion yards on those guys. I have to think that Kevin is going to do his thing and get into a good passing rhythm there. Isaac Brown against Stanford. We just spoke about this. I think he might get it on 2 runs, 87.5. I think he goes higher than that. Amarian Hampton rushing touchdown. Book it. That's going to happen. That's a virtual guarantee. Rashard Smith rushing touchdown. I think that happens. And then finishing it with Tyler Shuck. Again, it may be a little concerning that I have them breaking the rushing number and the passing number, but I just saw NC State do that.
Yeah.
I think these guys are better than NC State. I'm fine with it. I'm cool. All it is 270 and 273 there. I think he goes higher than that. So I feel good about these. This could be a big week, KG. I really like these. These feel very practical.
I like all of those, Mac. Very practical picks. Very good. I mean, we love the practicality here on the pod. We're a practical pod. That's great. That's excellent.
That's right.
Use our code, GMPod. Okay, in all transparency, my child has awoken. And so we need to go quick speed round with these last 2 games. Mac, each give a thought here. Wake Forest at North Carolina. North Carolina is an 11.5-point favorite, 8 p.m. ACC Network. Mac and the crew will be there. Wake Forest 13th in the ACC in rush defense. I think Omarion Hampton goes off. I think these losses are continuing to pile up for Wake. I'm not sure where they are mentally as a team right now. I think North Carolina is feeling pretty good. So I'm going to take North Carolina minus 11.5.
Seems like a different team. Seems like North Carolina, coming off of a bunch of losses in a row, flipped the switch, got some guys back, got some guys healthy. The defense has looked really good. I think they go off in this game. But as you mentioned, it comes down to Marion Hampton. I think he has a massive day. Not only gets in the end zone a lot, which he did the last time we saw him at a crazy pace, but a ton of yards too. I mean, this guy's he's the real deal. He's the real deal.
He absolutely is, and he's worth watching that game just because of Omarion Hampton. Syracuse at Cal, 3 p.m. CW, so 3 Eastern, right? Is that right? So it's a noon kick out there. Right. I guess it is. Cal's a 9-point favorite, so you have a noon kick out on the West Coast. Mac, this may seem counterproductive or counterintuitive, but as I said, and even though Syracuse lost that game to BC, it was a weird game, tough to watch, doesn't really go with what I'm saying. But I think the culture has shifted in Syracuse. They've won some games in November that we thought they wouldn't. I'm not saying they win, but I think they cover. I think Syracuse covers. Syracuse plus 9 out there in Berkeley. I actually think Cal does win the game. I like how Cal's been looking.
Okay. Yeah, it is going to be interesting. This is going to be a great challenge for Kyle McCord in this offense. The passing defense of Cal has been superb. They get their hands on the football. I think they had 3 picks last game. Really try to alter games and do their thing. And I think they do that here. I think they make it really tough for them. Fernando Mendoza has been balling. Eddie Royal loves that guy. He's been very impressed with him. He's coming off a career game as well. So we're going to see 2 good quarterbacks trying to rip it. I think Cal has the significantly better defense, so I'm going with the Bears. I think they make it happen, get their second win. I think they probably cover too. I think that defense I think they do. I think they cover. I think they win by 10. And that defense makes a play. Maybe a pick 6 or 2. We've seen it before, maybe 3 times. I don't know if it's that. But anyway, Lord. I think they make it happen.
That game's going to be closer. I'm just going to put that out there.
Closest one of the day. Closest one of the day. So it should be the best game of the day, which is fascinating.
Crazy. Yeah, that's crazy to think. All right, anyway. Mac, your girl's got to run. So take us out.
Let's go. Get you out of here. Guys, appreciate you always. Need your help. Continue to jump on the train with us. Jump on YouTube, subscribe, check us out there. And, of course, over the OGs on Apple Podcasts, SiriusXM. We always appreciate you guys tuning in there. But until next time, we'll see y'all.